Andrew, how are you?
Quite deeply affected, to be honest.
I read your one of your tweets. There's a few of them. They're pretty strong statements that you've made. One of them says it's not only Charlie, there's a list, they're coming for the rest of us. What do you mean by that?
We no longer live in any kind of civilized political discourse. The left and the right are not arguing about interest rates or economic policy. This is a complete different worldview. These people lack spirits and souls, and they believe that anybody who disagrees with them or says a word counter to their narrative deserves a bullet in the neck. This is no longer political discourse. This is a divide which is much larger than most divides, which caused endless wars across the planet. And Charlie Kirk was killed for being the good guy, for being the nice guy. He hasn't been nearly as inflammatory as I have with many subjects. And they believe we deserve death, and they celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk in a disgusting, inhumane manner. Let's not forget, because it's easy to forget, attempts. Not only did they try to kill Trump, but we forget it because they were unsuccessful. They tried to kill Nick Fuentes. We forget it because they were unsuccessful. Did you even know they tried to kill me? Type Andrew Tate knife attack. Last month, somebody put on a high-vis vest pretending to be a builder, trying to get access to my house with a blade.
Wow.
When he was identified, started slashing randomly because he couldn't kill me. So I'm on a death list also. And the media is spinning and hyper-radicalizing low IQ people into attacking anybody who has a worldview that's different to theirs. The media is absolutely, completely complicit. And I would argue that very few people on the planet had larger voices for the masculine youth than Charlie Kirk. If you want to say some names which are possibly up there, it's myself and Nick, and we've already had attempts on our life. This is disgusting. And this is no longer a political divide. This is no longer about policy. This is about good and evil. This is about right and wrong.
Yeah.
This is a war. This is almost an unfixable problem. When people are laughing and celebrating a father dying in front of his children because he disagreed with their worldview, especially when their worldview is wrong. Let's analyze as professionals. If you're going to sit and tell the world that men can be women because they put on a wig, and they believe you deserve a bullet in the neck the second you disagree with them, they are fighting objective reality. You can't agree or disagree with these people. Where is the political solution for people you cannot agree, disagree, conversate, or debate with?
Wow.
You tell me how we have a political solution to this.
It's funny because I don't even talk about politics that much on my channel, but I have noticed over the 5 years that I've had this channel, every time I dabble with it, every time I come back to some of the topics, when I talk about them, people have become much more emotional. People have become much more polarized on the topics, and people have become much more retaliatory. I mean, it started with people being censored. It started with people losing their jobs because they were identified as being racist, being bigots, or being misogynist. And now it's gotten to the point where we can justify assassinating people. And I think the media has played a huge part in this. Not only the media, but also the content creators. For some reason, and I have to say, it has been pretty biased. It has been pretty polarized. It's been people on the left. They've been allowed to threaten people with literal physical threats. They've been allowed to dox people, and they've been allowed to do this without consequence.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And so when people are hearing things like that from people they consider to be leaders, all it takes is one mentally ill person to actually enact the violence. And our inability to hold people accountable that are making calls for violence is really what leads to this type of stuff. And now it's getting to the point where I'm starting to see the right want to retaliate. I made a video today about people who were talking about Charlie Kirk on their social medias that ended up getting fired. And I proposed the question, is this the way we want to handle this? Because this is going to cause more separation. And there were a lot of people on the right that say, yeah, they don't care. They think that this is appropriate. And I'm measuring the temperature of the country. And what's interesting is I do think it's going to cause separation and it might lead to something like a civil war. And I think that there's a growing number of people that don't care and wouldn't mind if that happened. And I think that that's not a good thing.
I'm on a forever kill list. As was Charlie, as is Nick, as is Trump, as is anyone who tries to enforce basic reality, as is Elon. Elon saved the world. He's trying to make humans multiplanetary, and people will laugh if he dies. Do you understand the spiritual sickness we're discussing here? This isn't politics. This isn't policy.
Yeah.
This is a complete lack of souls.
I agree.
You know, people often attack me for toxic masculinity, and the masculine essence in and of itself always had respect for their adversaries. When you finish fighting, you shake hands. Even generals in old wars would show respect to their opponent after they killed them, or they would allow surrender. There's always been a degree of respect in combat amongst the masculine mindset, the masculine realm. But these new liberals, this hyper-feminized feminist, even the men are basically girls. Harry Sisson, Dean Withers, they're female. They have no respect for the sanctity of life. If somebody annoys them or disagrees with them once, they believe that person deserves to die and they celebrate it. That's not the masculine way.
I agree. There's supposed to be a certain level of respect for opponents, especially in the intellectual realm. When you're having debates, especially political debates, things that can be emotionally sensitive, violence can never be acceptable. It can never be something that you should be able to tolerate in that realm of conversation when people are trying to be diplomatic about issues that they disagree with. I mean, even things like the Geneva Convention that came up with the Geneva laws. People, because we have a level of humanity, even people who are willing to go to war, have decided that even when we go to war with each other, we should have certain rules in place. And those rules have been put into place in order to protect our humanity, because even when we go to war, we all agree to some degree human life is sacred. Now, of course, and I have talked about this a little bit in the past, I don't agree with what Israel has been doing to Palestine. Honestly, it's not even really up to debate. A lot of the stuff that they're doing is against the rules. But either way, what he's saying is true. There's supposed to be a masculine respect for your opponent. When it comes to debates, we've agreed on that. When it comes to one-on-one fights and even something as egregious as war, we've come to that conclusion. Debate is a place for diplomacy, not for a place of physical force. Because once you can't reason with each other anymore, everything comes down to physical force. And that's how you get ruled by warlords.
My worst enemy could die. In front of his children, I would do nothing but support his family. I would send them money and make sure that his kids could eat. My worst enemies.
That's honorable. I ain't gonna lie.
We are living in the most disgusting period of human history. This is absolutely disgusting. And I don't see a political solution for these savages who are perfectly prepared to kill and celebrate over a few words. And the fact that I'm on a kill list doesn't bother me. It's not about me. It's about Charlie. The fact that he was the nice guy. So you can't be a nice guy to these people. They will kill you. What are we supposed to do here, Mario?
I'll read out a tweet that he said. He said, assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk.
What?
55% said the same about Donald Trump.
Oh, my
In California, activists
That's
are naming
crazy.
ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. I worry about labeling this left versus right. And there's one of your tweets, I'm sure you were emotional when you posted it. And
This
you
is
said just
spiritual
civil
battle.
war.
Spiritual battle.
So you said.
I said civil war is coming. Because the only prerequisite to war, the only way to avoid war is a degree of negotiation or discourse.
Right.
Which is why I asked you the very well-constructed question just a second ago. How do we have discourse with people that we can't politely speak to and we can't disagree with, and we have to completely capitulate to their false worldview? Otherwise, we deserve a bullet in the neck. Explain to me how discourse can solve this. This is me genuinely asking you a question.
I don't know. Ben Shapiro canceled all his appearances.
So civil war is going to be the end result. I'm not calling for violence. What I'm making very clear is that there is no alternative if these people will not sit down and have a conversation. You know, America's in a very difficult predicament. I understand the free speech. I understand we want to live in a democracy and freedom. I understand these things. But if we're going to allow social media platforms to celebrate people's deaths the way that Charlie's death is currently being celebrated, the country is going to disappear within 5 years.
I agree. I think a lot of it comes down to these algorithms. I think they're created by scientists and labs that understand the human mind better than you ever will. Your device, your cell phone probably knows you better than you know you at this point. And these apps are created with one purpose, and that is to keep you on the app for as long as possible. So it doesn't matter what they have to show you. If they have to show you something that makes you happy, something that makes you sad, show you pornography, show you somebody getting shot in the neck. Whatever they have to show you to keep you on the app for a little bit longer is what they will show you. And I'll tell you right now, because I am a content creator, and as a content creator, you start to understand things about the human psyche that other people don't understand as well. If you offer people Cheetos and carrots, people will tell you all day to make themselves feel better that they'll take the carrots. But when you work in media and you work in content creation, you understand that every time they're going to choose to take the Cheetos. And so the reason why the only thing you see on social media is Kim Kardashian's butt is because that's what actually works. That's what people actually click on. And if you want to compete in this space, you have to be able to put out things that people actually want to click on. And one thing that a lot of people like to indulge in is confirmation bias. So a lot of people get polarized because they only want to hear opinions that they agree with, or they only want to see people that they agree with dunk on other people. And of course, people will say, well, that's just online, but you've seen this manifest over time in real life. A college, a place where you're supposed to go to have your opinions challenged, that's literally the whole point of it, in my opinion, has become a place where people aren't allowed to challenge their opinions, which really doesn't make sense. It seems literally counterintuitive to what college is supposed to be about. And so basically what I'm saying is we've seen this new technology affect us as human beings over the last 10 years. Instagram's been around since what, 2012? And I will say people are totally different. We live in a totally different world. And what's even more alarming is that we give this technology that's created and has effects on adults like me as a person. I have a hard time with social media sometimes. I know I make money on social media, like this is my job, but I also sometimes have to put it down and realize that I want to live in the real world and engage with the real world and stay off of it for a little bit because it is addicting. What's most alarming to me is the fact that we just willy-nilly give this stuff to our kids. And one of the most alarming parts isn't the fact that it's addictive and the effects that it has on your attention span. One of the most alarming parts is that it can seed you. It can plant ideas into your head. And to be honest, we know that they're willing to put into place certain political biases about certain topics and narratives in order to seed your mind. Freeway Ricky Ross, one of the first guys who was selling crack in the 80s, who by the way was being helped by the CIA, he said that one of the reasons crack was so dangerous is because people didn't know that crack had consequences until they started seeing crackheads. And I think in the near future, we're going to see social media as something similar to cigarettes. We thought it was safe until it started giving people cancer. And I mean, this has just become completely obvious to me at this point. These algorithms that are fueled by AI, which some people call artificial intelligence, I personally like to call them an alien intelligence. They are an intelligence that are alien to us. We are seeing them in real time give people mental illnesses. This is an insane alien technology that not even the people who create it understand. And I guarantee you the algorithms and the people who created them didn't do it with your best interest in mind.
So if I was president, normally I have all the answers, but now for once I'm stumped. What would I even do as president? Can I lock all these people up? Probably not. Can I round them all up? No. Am I just going to let them celebrate and laugh? Am I going to let every single person who says something controversial be threatened with death? Am I going to allow every single time Andrew Tate or Nick Fuentes or you or Elon or anyone makes a post that these people don't agree with for them to start writing underneath it, Charlie Kirk, LOL, coming next, and radicalizing more and more people to believe that we deserve to die? Let me ask you a question. I have daughters. I think that human traffickers should be killed. I'm sure you think the same. The media called me a human trafficker for 4 years, and I've never been convicted. There are people who believe I deserve to die.
Don't make it
I've
about
never
you,
been convicted
Tate.
of a
Don't
crime,
make it about you.
and I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. That's why this man came here with a knife to kill me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? How can I have political discourse with these people? How can I explain to them this was a hit job on me and my reputation? How can I talk to them if they don't believe that a man who puts on a wig isn't actually truly a woman? How do I talk to somebody who doesn't believe in gravity? How do I talk to someone whose worldview is so warped and so corrupted. They don't understand the basic premises of Earth,
Yep.
the basic realities.
Yep.
They don't believe in the sun, the moon, the sky, the ground. How can I talk to these people?
He on it
And when
now.
I try, no matter how articulate, in fact, this isn't about me. When Charlie was articulate, kind, interesting, witty, he was polite, he gave his time. When he tried his very best to explain to them how they were wrong and repeatedly decimated them in the world of logic, all they do instead of learning their lesson is call for his death and laugh when it happens. How do I find a political solution to this?
And that's what this comes down to. Some people think that you should be able to kill people based on a subjective metric. For example, some people justified the killing of Charlie Kirk by saying that he was a Nazi, which by some weird subjective metric of hate speech. Nazis did things. Charlie Kirk just said things. Those are two totally different things. And they called him a Nazi or a sexist or a bigot or a misogynist or a racist to justify what they wanted to do to him. But when they rely on a subjective metric like hate speech, especially a subjective metric that nobody agrees upon, then people can justify any type of political assassination based on hate speech, which is a subjective metric that usually comes down to, I don't agree with what you said. And we used to have parameters that we agreed upon for what hate speech is. It was like doxing and calls for violence. But now we've gotten to the point where if you don't agree that a man is a woman, that's somehow considered hate speech because that now means that you want to harm trans people, which is kind of weird because it's like some form of pre-crime. It's like, I think that because you said this, you're going to commit some type of heinous crime in the future. Therefore, we're justified in killing you now.
It's a genuine question.
I don't know. Like I was speaking to Congressman Jim Jordan just a few days ago, as well as Ben Habib in the UK, which I know you're doing some political stuff in the UK, and they both said the US is the final front for free speech. It's the pinnacle of free speech. And then when you have people like Ben,
but this is the thing that's so dangerous, Mario. For there to be free speech, there can't be limits on the speech, but there must be within the population a basic understanding and parameters of objective reality.
Right.
Everybody must understand gravity exists, right? There can't be free speech if everybody's saying, let's throw children off of buildings. Gravity's not real. Eventually, you're calling for murder. At a certain point, when objective reality has been decimated to the point where there are no parameters left, like this man-woman crap, or how killing children is somehow important to do, or that we shouldn't have borders and unlimited numbers of people should turn up and we don't know who they are, or we shouldn't arrest criminals and criminals shouldn't go to jail. When you have absolutely no parameters left, how can you have free speech without inciting for what exactly happened?
That's a great point.
At a certain point, free speech just becomes inciting for violence, and the violence comes because these people do not have respect for life. They don't have respect for a differing opinion. They don't have respect for anything. So we've lost control of a large percentage of the Western population who live in a fantasy land. And in their fantasy land, they think people deserve bullets in the neck unless you also drink the Kool-Aid. What is the political solution to this?
Dang. It's tough. Spitting. That's tough.
There are people who I know when they get me, there's going to be large celebrations. And people are going to say, he said women can't park cars. He deserves to die and orphan all his children because of a joke. But they will make jokes about Charlie Kirk's death. And they don't care, and they don't see the hypocrisy in that. These people are soulless. The West has lost its soul. There is no honor left. Not even the basic masculine dignity of showing respect to a fallen enemy. Nothing. There is nothing left. I want you to speak to Elon. I want to get on the rocket and go to Mars. I am completely heartbroken. Not just because of Charlie. Not just because I know I'm next. I'm heartbroken for humanity. I'm ready to die. I've had a great life. I'm heartbroken for the Western world as we know it. And anyone with a brain should be.
I remember when we did a space not long after Trump's assassination, I think on the same day.
He just spit
and
off the
that was
top.
before that. And he
crazy.
said on the space, I will never kill myself. And Elon said something similar. And I think, I'm not sure who else, Alex Jones might have said something similar on that space. And, afterwards we saw Trump's assassination attempt, and now we saw Charlie shot in the neck. It seems like we're just slowly walking into that world, and we keep moving on. People have moved on from the president almost killed just a few months ago. What do you think is going to happen now after Charlie Kirk's death? Are we just going to move on and live our life like we did after Trump's assassination attempt?
I hope not. However, I think we do need a solid plan. I mean, it's easy to descend into chaos and more senseless acts of violence, but we need a solid plan, which is why I asked the question I asked earlier. What do we do about these people? This is a genuine question. I'm not even insinuating the answer. I'm asking, what do we do about the people who believe that it's good that he died? What do we do about the people who believe Elon Musk should die? What do we do about the people who believe that I, because the media lied about me for years and I was never convicted, should be dead? What do we do about the people who believe Candace Owens should die? What do we do about the person who was laughing that Nick Fuentes almost died? Nobody even knows they tried to kill me a month ago. Nobody even cares. What do we do about these people who want us dead? How do you live in a country where half of the people you interact with or see or walk past want you dead? How do you do that? This is a genuine question. How do you exist amongst people who want you gone? What's the answer?
I don't have the answer.
I don't see a political solution to this.
What's the other solution then?
Well,
I know you
don't
mentioned
know.
the risk
And
of
this is
civil
the
war.
point. And we have to be very careful here, right? We have to be very careful here. And I like you, Mario. You're a good friend of mine. But, you know, journalists in and of themselves love to get the rage bait answers. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but that's what the left have certainly been doing for a very long time. I'm not calling for anybody to be dead. What I'm trying to say is that normally, with every single problem, I consider myself a man who knows all the solutions and knows all the answers. But after this, I'm sitting here thinking, what do we do? And I'll be honest, if I was in charge of America, the people who are laughing and dancing and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, I believe, should end up feeling the force of the law. But how does that affect free speech? And how is that weaponized against us into the future?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
And then you have to go down a deeper rabbit hole. You're currently in Dubai. Dubai is safe and Dubai is secure, it looks like, or the Middle East. You're somewhere safe and secure. America is no longer safe and secure for anybody. It's not safe and secure anymore. So how do you restore this? How do you restore unity? How do you restore sanctimonium? How do you fix these things? Because America doesn't just have domestic enemies. It has international enemies. There's a reason everyone's running away from America and running away from Europe and running to Dubai, because it's a place where you can exist without the threat of being killed. But Dubai doesn't have free speech. Does free speech just end in tyranny? I don't know. How does this end? I'm not sure. What I'm saying is that if it was up to me, if I was the president, I would say, okay, we're going to have free speech, but we need to have some basic parameters we all understand and respect. Free speech works if we have the same view of history, the same view of what a successful society is, the same view of what a family is, the same. You need to have some basic parameters. You can't have people who disagree on absolutely every single facet of existence and then have these people walking around with guns and then have unchecked media pieces stirring up hate. How will that end in anything other than assassinations?
But then what's the solution? Because in Europe...
I think the truth of the matter is either you have freedom or you have safety. It's hard to do both of those two things at the same time. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit disappointed in the masculine. Because as men, especially in this country, as fellow countrymen, we are supposed to be in pursuit of the truth, understanding that sometimes the truth can offend us. And even though sometimes we don't agree with each other, we're supposed to, as men, be able to work with people we don't agree with to make this work for our families, not just one side families, but everybody in the country relies on masculinity being able to pursue the objective truth. Now, women, we allow for them to be a little bit more emotional about the truth because women don't have the threat of violence. They may cry, they may scream, they may get angry, but generally speaking, women don't have as much threat for violence when they're emotional. As men, we're supposed to understand that we have to check our emotions when it comes to objective reality. Men operating in objective reality is how you get technology, is how you get these political structures that work. It's how you get everything around us that we all mutually benefit from. And now that masculinity is abandoning that pursuit for the sake of protecting people's feelings, we're going to move further and further from the truth. And trust me, that's not a world that's going to benefit anybody. And we all as men should have a mutual investment into our society. I know I talked a lot, so I only covered about 15 minutes of this conversation. There's another 30 minutes of this discussion between Mario and Andrew. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special that's helping without special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.